The discovery, the neon signs of Nexus stations underbelly flickered erratically, casting alternating shadows across Maya Reeves' face as she navigated the cramped corridors of the maintenance level. She had been stationed on this remote outpost for 8 months, and in that time she learned that the official United Earth Alliance rules were merely suggestions once you descended past the commercial levels. As a UEA technical specialist, Maya wasn't supposed to be here, poking around in the station's unsanctioned zones. But reliable power flow to critical systems had been fluctuating for weeks, and her supervisor refused to investigate beyond the official schematics. "Something's drawing massive power," she muttered to herself, following the readings on her handheld scanner. "And it's definitely not on any official requisition list." The device led her deeper into the station, past makeshift shops selling contraband, aliens of various configurations exchanging untraceable currency, and the occasional enforcer maintaining whatever passed for order down here. Maya kept her UEA jacket zipped inside her civilian clothes. No need to advertise her allegiance to Earth's government. The scanner's signal grew stronger as she approached a nondescript doorway at the end of a particularly dim corridor. No markings, no guards, just an unusual amount of power cabling running along the ceiling and disappearing through the wall. Maya hesitated. Discovering unauthorized tech could mean a commendation. It could also mean discovering something powerful people wanted to keep hidden. Her fingers brushed against the compact pulse pistol concealed at her hip, not standard issue, but essential for survival on the frontier. The door wasn't even locked, a calculated risk from whoever operated inside, betting that an unmarked door in a forgotten corridor wouldn't attract attention. Maya slipped inside, finding herself in a small antechamber. The ambient temperature immediately rose several degrees, and an electrical hum permeated the air, making the hairs on her arms stand on end. Another door stood ahead, this one secured with a basic keypad. Maya connected her scanner to the interface, running a standard UEA security bypass. Moments later, the lock clicked open. "Amateur hour," she whispered, drawing her pistol before pushing the door open. The sight that greeted her stopped her cold. The room was dominated by a transparent cylindrical chamber at its center, surrounded by humming equipment. Inside the chamber floated what appeared to be a humanoid figure, suspended in a pale blue liquid. Dozens of cables and tubes connected to its body at various points, pulsing with energy. The being was roughly human-sized but distinctly alien, its skin a deep indigo that seemed to shimmer beneath the liquid. Delicate crystalline structures protruded from its shoulders and along its spine. Most striking were the patterns of light that rippled beneath its skin, flowing through vessel-like channels toward the connection points where the cables were attached. Maya stood transfixed, trying to process what she was seeing. This wasn't mere technology theft or contraband storage. This was something far worse. The alien's eyes suddenly opened, revealing iris-less orbs that glowed with the same energy coursing through its body. Its gaze fixed directly on Maya, and she felt a sudden pressure in her mind like the onset of migraine. Images flashed through her consciousness. A planet of crystalline spires, beings like the one before her living in harmony, manipulating energy with their thoughts. Then darkness, the arrival of ships, capture, pain, endless pain as their natural energy was harvested and drained. Maya gasped, stumbling backward as the connection broke. The alien continued to watch her, its expression unreadable behind the breathing apparatus attached to its face. "What the hell is this place?" Maya whispered, looking around at the equipment. Each machine displayed readings in a script she didn't recognize, but the symbols for energy output were universal enough. Whatever they were doing, they were extracting massive amounts of power from the being and routing it elsewhere. A terminal near the containment chamber caught her attention. Maya holstered her weapon and approached it cautiously. The interface responded to her touch, switching to a language selection screen. She selected Standard Galactic, and information began to flow across the display. Project Aurora, Zenith Energy Systems, Sustainable Biological Power Source. Maya read aloud, skimming through the data. Subject 7, Luminarian species, harvested from exploration vessel, compatible with all standard power systems. The more she read, the more her stomach turned. These aliens, Luminarians, naturally produced and channeled energy as part of their biological processes. Zenith Energy, a corporation with tentacles throughout the frontier systems, had discovered their species and realized they could be used as living batteries. The output of a single Luminarian, properly maintained, could power an entire station section indefinitely. Maya looked up at the alien, who hadn't stopped watching her. "They're using you like a generator," she said, horror evident in her voice. The pressure returned to her mind, gentler this time, accompanied by a distinct feeling that could only be interpreted as affirmation. Maya's scanner beeped, alerting her to approaching life signs. She quickly disconnected from the terminal and looked for a place to hide. Finding none suitable, she turned back to the alien. "I'll come back," she promised, not knowing if it could understand her words. "I'll find a way to help you." The alien's glow intensified briefly, and Maya felt something akin to gratitude brush against her consciousness before she slipped back out the way she came, narrowly avoiding a pair of Zenith technicians heading toward the chamber. Back in her quarters, Maya couldn't shake the images she'd witnessed or the lingering sense of the alien's pain. She accessed the station's public records, searching for information on Zenith Energy and the mysterious Luminarians. Officially, Zenith was just another energy corporation with a government contract to manage Nexus Station's power systems. No mention of alien captives or biological power sources. The Luminarian species didn't appear in any public xenobiology database either. Maya switched to the unofficial channels, message boards and information networks maintained by those who lived in the station's shadows. Here, rumors abounded. Whispers of living batteries on multiple Zenith-operated stations, astronomical profits from proprietary renewable energy technology, disappearances of research vessels that ventured too close to a particular sector of unexplored space. A message notification flashed on her screen, anonymous, routed through multiple proxy servers. Curious about power fluctuations? Dock 17, maintenance shaft B 200 hours. Come alone. Maya stared at the message, weighing her options. This could be a trap. Perhaps she triggered some security system while accessing the facility. But it could also be someone who knew more about what was happening on the station. She thought again of the alien's eyes, of the pain and desperation she felt through their brief mental connection. Whatever risks she might be taking, it couldn't compare to the daily torture that being was enduring. Her decision made, Maya began preparing for the meeting. She checked her pulse pistol's charge, downloaded the station's maintenance shaft schematics to her personal device, and left a sealed message in her quarters detailing what she discovered, insurance in case she didn't return. As midnight approached, Maya lay on her bunk, unable to sleep. The image of the suspended alien haunted her. In her 12 years with the UEA, she'd encountered many species, worked alongside non-humans of various physiologies and cultures. The notion of enslaving sentient beings as power sources violated every principle the Alliance claimed to stand for. Yet here it was happening on a UEA-sanctioned station, operated by a corporation with government contracts. How deep did this go? How many others knew and turned away? Maya checked the time, 1:30 hours. She rose and dressed in dark, practical clothing, concealing her weapon and scanner. Whatever awaited her at Dock 17, she was determined to find answers, and perhaps a way to free Subject 7. As she slipped out of her quarters and into the dim corridor of Night Cycle, Maya couldn't have known that her discovery would set in motion events that would shake the foundations of human-alien relations throughout the frontier, or that the connection she formed with the captive Luminarian would become something neither of their species had ever experienced before. The path ahead was dangerous and uncertain, but one thing was clear: Maya Reeves could no longer pretend not to see the crimes being committed in humanity's name. And once a technical specialist identified a problem, fixing it became a matter of professional pride, even if the system that needed fixing was far larger than she'd ever tackled before. The rescue. Dock 17 was deserted at 200 hours, the cavernous landing bay dimly lit by emergency lighting. Maya moved silently along the wall, scanner set to detect life signs. Her contact had chosen well. This particular dock was undergoing repairs, closed to all but maintenance personnel. A soft scraping sound echoed from maintenance shaft B. Maya drew her pulse pistol and approached cautiously. "You can put that away," came a gravelly voice. "If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't have made it out of that facility yesterday." A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, lean, with the distinctive ridge-marked skin of a Keltorian. Maya recognized him as one of the dock workers, often seen loading cargo but rarely interacting with station personnel. "Name's Varric," he said, keeping his distance. "I've been watching Zenith's operation for months." "Why?" Maya asked, lowering her weapon, but not holstering it. "Because they're doing the same thing to my people on Station Gamma 9. His outer eyelids blinked horizontally, a sign of emotional distress in his species. "We're not as efficient as Luminarians, but we generate enough bioenergy to make us valuable." Maya's suspicions began to shift. "You know what they are? The being in that chamber?" "Luminarians are the most energy-dense sentients in known space," Varric explained. "Their entire biology evolved to channel and manipulate pure energy. They were nomadic, peaceful, until Zenith discovered them 5 years ago." "How many are captive?" "At least 30 across various Zenith facilities. Probably more." He handed her a data chip, security protocols, shift schedules, and a schematic of the containment system. "I've been gathering intel, waiting for someone with the right access and the right moral compass." Maya took the chip, still wary. "Why me?" "You're UDA Technical Division. You can access systems I can't, and you've got clearance to move throughout the station without raising alarms." He paused, "And you went back 3 times to observe the holding facility. Anyone that determined deserves a chance to do something about it." Maya felt a chill. He'd been watching her more closely than she realized. How Zenith's machinery tapped into it. Most importantly, the safe sequence for disconnection. When the connection broke, Maya felt dizzy but enlightened. That's incredible. You just transferred technical knowledge directly to my mind. Knowledge is energy too, Ilara said simply. Now you understand what must be done. Maya turned to the others. I'll need to access the main power grid to mask the drop in output when we disconnect him. Otherwise, alarms will trigger immediately. I can give access, said one of the humans, a woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight braid. I'm Sarah, communications specialist. Officially on leave, unofficially avoiding Zenith's notice after asking too many questions. The second human, a broad-shouldered man with a cybernetic eye, stepped forward. Dax, security. I can handle the guards, but we'll need a distraction. I've been working on that, Varric said, producing a small device from his pocket. Modified EMP, tuned to affect only specific frequencies used by Zenith's security systems. Won't harm the Luminarian or life support, but will knock out surveillance and door locks. Maya looked around at the unlikely allies she found. People from different species and backgrounds, united by a common recognition of injustice. For the first time since discovering the facility, she felt a spark of hope. We move tomorrow, she decided. End of third shift when the facility is minimally staffed. They spent the next hours planning meticulously. Maya studied the data Varric had gathered, identifying vulnerabilities in Zenith's systems. Sarah mapped communication protocols they could use to misdirect any response teams. Dax prepared tactical approaches for dealing with security. Through it all, Ilara provided crucial insights about Talon's condition and capabilities. He will be weakened, she warned. Years of constant energy drainage leave lasting damage. He may not be able to walk unassisted. I'll carry him if necessary, Dax said, the artificial lens of his cybernetic eye adjusting as he studied the facility schematics. As the station's day cycle began, they dispersed to their respective positions. Maya returned to her quarters to maintain appearances, reviewing her regular work assignments while mentally rehearsing each step of their plan. She accessed the station's power grid remotely, setting up diagnostic routines that would activate during their rescue, legitimate-seeming procedures that would mask the power fluctuations when Talon was disconnected. Hours crawled by with excruciating slowness. Maya forced herself to eat, to appear normal in the mess hall, to nod at colleagues who had no idea what she was planning. Every minute brought fresh doubts. What if they failed? What if Talon died during the extraction? What if Zenith's influence extended higher in the UEA than she realized? Finally, the third shift arrived. Maya changed into dark clothing again, this time adding a technical service vest that would give her the appearance of authority if challenged. She secured her tools and weapons, then made her way to the rendezvous point near the facility's maintenance access. Varric arrived first, followed by Dax and Sarah. Ilara came last, shrouded in a hooded cloak that concealed her distinctive appearance. Ready? Maya asked, looking at each of them. 4 determined nods answered her. Sarah moved first, accessing a nearby terminal to initiate the communications overlay that would intercept and modify any alarm signals. Varric activated his modified EMP, causing a localized power fluctuation that reset the security protocols on the access door. They entered the maintenance corridor that ran behind the facility. Maya's scanner confirmed only 3 life signs inside, 2 Zenith technicians and Talon himself. Dax took point as they approached the inner door, pulse rifle ready. On your mark, he whispered. Maya nodded and Sarah triggered the second phase of their disruption, a station-wide alert about environmental system failures in a distant sector. As expected, one of the life signs inside began moving toward the exit. The door opened and a technician in Zenith uniform emerged, looking concerned. He barely had time to register surprise at their presence before Dax stunned him with a low-power pulse. They dragged him into the maintenance corridor and secured him with restraints. One down, Dax murmured. The remaining technician was stationed near Talon's chamber, monitoring the energy extraction. Maya activated her grid diagnostic program, causing indicator lights across the facility to flicker as power was rerouted. Something's wrong with the grid, they heard the technician say into his communicator. Running diagnostics. Maya gave the signal and they entered the main chamber. The technician turned, startled, but Dax was already moving. A brief struggle ended with a second unconscious Zenith employee. Maya rushed to the control terminal while Ilara approached Talon's suspension chamber. The imprisoned Luminarian's eyes were closed, his skin pulsing weakly with depleted energy. Begin the shutdown sequence, Ilara urged, placing her hands against the transparent barrier. He senses us, but he's too weak to respond. Maya's fingers flew across the interface, implementing the disconnection protocol she'd learned from Ilara. The machines hummed as they began their power-down cycle. On her personal device, Maya watched the station's power grid automatically compensating for the decreasing input, redistributing energy from secondary systems just as she programmed. How long? Dax asked, keeping watch at the door. 3 minutes for safe disconnection, Maya replied. Any faster risks shock to his system. Those 3 minutes stretched into eternity as they waited, exposed and vulnerable. Sarah monitored communications from her device, intercepting and modifying routine check-ins to prevent suspicion. Finally, the last connection disengaged with a soft hiss. The suspension fluid began to drain from the chamber, lowering Talon gently to the floor as the front panel slid open. Elara rushed forward, cradling her kinsman as he slumped forward. A faint pulse of light passed between them as she established direct contact, energy flowing from her body to his. Talon's eyes fluttered open, focusing with difficulty. "We must move quickly," Elara said, supporting him. "He cannot yet communicate verbally or walk." Dax moved to help, lifting Talon as gently as his muscular frame allowed. The Luminarian was lighter than he appeared, his body seeming almost hollow without the energy that should have filled it. "Exit route clear," Sarah confirmed from the doorway. "But we've got incoming, shift change in 10 minutes. They moved swiftly back through the maintenance corridor, Varric leading the way to a service elevator that would take them directly to the lower docks where their escape vessel waited. Maya brought up the rear, erasing evidence of their intrusion from the systems as they retreated. The elevator descended smoothly, but halfway to their destination, it jerked to a halt. "Override from security," Sarah announced, fingers flying across her device. They detected the power anomaly. "How long to bypass?" Maya asked, already accessing the elevator's control panel. "Too long," Sarah replied grimly. "They're running a full system scan." Elara suddenly straightened, her glow intensifying. "There is another way." She placed one hand on the elevator's interior wall, the other remaining in contact with Talon. Energy flowed visibly from her body through Talon and into the elevator's systems. The lights flickered, then stabilized at a higher intensity. The elevator resumed its descent, now moving faster than its design specifications. "What did you do?" Maya asked in amazement. "Temporary energy infusion," Elara explained, her voice strained. "Bypassing their control systems with direct power." The elevator reached the lower docks, doors opening to reveal their escape route. A small maintenance vessel Varric had prepared, officially scheduled for exterior hull inspections. As they hurried toward it, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Their time had run out. "Security teams dispatching to all docks," Sarah warned, reading the intercepted communications. 2 minutes at most." They reached the vessel, Dax carrying the still silent Talon aboard, while Varric rushed to the pilot's console to begin launch preparations. Maya and Sarah secured the hatch as Elara collapsed into a seat, her energy reserves dangerously depleted from aiding their escape. Launch clearance denied, Varric announced that the vessel's engines hummed to life. They've locked down all departures. Maya pushed forward to the co-pilot's seat. "Override protocols. UAA Technical Division authorization." She entered her credentials, highest clearance level, into the system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the docking clamps released with a heavy thunk. Launch window open, the automated system announced. "Please proceed immediately to designated flight path." Varric didn't need to be told twice. The maintenance vessel detached from the station and accelerated away, navigation lights dimmed to minimize their visibility. Behind them, Nexus Station grew smaller, its immense structure glittering against the backdrop of space. Maya knew it wouldn't be long before pursuit vessels launched, but they had a head start and a destination where Zenith's influence couldn't reach them. In the passenger compartment, Elara continued to transfer energy to Talon. His color was improving, the glow beneath his skin strengthening gradually. He managed to sit up with assistance, looking around at his rescuers with eyes that held both gratitude and deep wariness. "Where are we taking them?" Dax asked, securing the unconscious Zenith technician they'd brought along as evidence. "Trading post on Kara's Minor," Varric replied. "Beyond UVA jurisdiction, but with connections to journalists who'll spread the story. From there, we can arrange transport to the free Luminarian colony Elara told us about." Maya looked back at the two aliens, one recovering from years of torture, the other willingly depleting her own energy to help him heal. The connection between them was visible, energy flowing in delicate patterns where their skin touched. "What about after?" she asked quietly. "Zenith won't stop because we rescued one Luminarian. There are dozens more being held." Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder. "One victory at a time. We got the evidence, we got a witness, and soon we'll have the attention of every independent news network in the frontier systems." Maya nodded, turning her attention to plotting a course that would avoid the most likely pursuit vectors. As the maintenance vessel accelerated to full speed, she felt Talon's consciousness brush against hers. Weaker than before, but present, a tentative connection forming. "Thank you," came the thought, not in words, but in a pure emotional impression of gratitude. Maya glanced back at the Luminarian, meeting his luminous gaze. "We're not finished yet," she promised aloud. "This is just the beginning." The vessel jumped to FTL, leaving Nexus Station and its secrets behind for now. Ahead lay uncertainty and danger, but also the chance to right a wrong that extended far beyond one station or one corporation. And Maya Reeves, technical specialist turned liberator, found herself at the center of a struggle that would reshape humanity's place among the stars. The reckoning. 2 days into their journey to Kara's Minor, the reality of what they'd done settled over the small vessel like a heavy shroud. Maya sat at the navigation console, reviewing their course for the dozenth time. They had managed to evade the initial pursuit from Nexus Station, but Zenith's reach was vast and UEA patrol vessels had been alerted to watch for their stolen maintenance craft. In the makeshift medical bay they configured in the cargo hold, Elara continued her efforts to stabilize Talon. The male Luminarian's condition had improved, but decades of energy harvesting had left profound damage. The crystalline structures along his spine, energy conductors, Maya now understood, remained dulled and fractured in places. Varric entered the bridge, his ridge-marked skin pale with exhaustion. "He's awake," he announced, and speaking. Maya immediately transferred navigation controls to the autopilot and followed Varric back to the cargo hold. Talon was propped up on a makeshift bed, his indigo skin pulsing with slightly stronger energy patterns than before. Elara sat beside him, her own glow noticeably dimmed from her ongoing energy transfers. "Talon," Maya said softly, approaching the bed. "Do you remember me?" The Luminarian's luminous eyes focused on her, recognition evident in their depths. "You heard my call," he said, his voice similar to Elara's in its crystalline resonance, though deeper and strained with effort. "Across the void of thought, you heard me." Maya nodded, taking a seat opposite Elara. "You showed me your world, your people. A world lost to us now." A ripple of darker blue sorrow, Maya had learned, passed across his skin. "How many cycles have passed since my capture?" 7 standard years, Elara answered gently. "Much has changed, brother. Our people have scattered to the stars, hiding in remote systems beyond Zenith's reach." Talon absorbed this, the light beneath his skin fluctuating with emotion. "And our captive kin. How many remain enslaved?" "Too many," Maya admitted. "But your rescue is just the beginning. We have evidence now and a witness." She gestured to the Zenith technician, still sedated and secured in a corner of the hold. "Once we reach Kara's Minor, we can expose the entire operation." Talon studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "You risk much, human. Zenith's influence extends beyond mere corporate power." "What do you mean?" Maya asked, a new concern forming. Talon's gaze shifted to Elara, who nodded encouragement. "In my captivity, I observed much. The Zenith directors spoke freely, believing me an uncomprehending tool. Their energy harvesting program operates with the knowledge and cooperation of high officials within your UEA." The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. "That's impossible. The Alliance has strict regulations against sentient exploitation." "Public regulations," Sarah interjected from the doorway, having overheard. "But the energy crisis in the frontier colonies has been growing worse for years. Luminarian power could solve it instantly." "A convenient moral compromise," Talon said, bitterness edging his melodic voice. "Sacrifice a few alien batteries to power human expansion." Maya's mind raced, reevaluating everything she thought she knew about her employers. The UAA had always represented humanity's better nature to her. Explorers and peacekeepers, not exploiters. But she'd seen enough frontier corruption to know that ideals often faltered at the edges of civilization. "This changes our approach," she decided. "We can't just take this to the news networks. We need irrefutable evidence linking UAA officials to the program." Dax joined them, his cybernetic eye wearing as it adjusted to the dimmed lighting of the cargo hold. The technician might know something. He's starting to wake up. The Zenith employee was indeed stirring, eyes blinking in confusion as he registered his surroundings and his restrained condition. Maya approached him, keeping her expression neutral. "You're on a transport vessel bound for Kara's Minor," she informed him. "You haven't been harmed, and you won't be if you cooperate." The man, human, middle-aged, with the pallid complexion of someone who spent too much time on space stations, glared at her. "You're all dead," he spat. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Who you've stolen from?" "We've liberated a sentient being from torture," Maya replied evenly. "And we know about the other Luminarians. What we need to know now is which UEA officials are involved." The technician laughed, a harsh sound with no humor. "You think this is just about energy? The Luminarian Integration Project goes all the way to the Alliance Security Council. Director Hargrove himself oversees the program." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. Elliot Hargrove was the director of Frontier Development, her division's ultimate superior, a respected figure who had championed expanded human presence in the outer systems. "You're lying," she said, but without conviction. The technician's expression shifted to something like pity. You really don't know what you stumbled into, do you? The Luminarians aren't just batteries. Their energy can be weaponized. The military applications alone are worth the moral compromise. At these words, Talon struggled to sit upright, alarm evident in the rapid pulsing of his skin. They discovered the resonance cascade, he said urgently to Alara. The theoretical application I feared. What's he talking about? Dax demanded. Alara's glow dimmed further. Our energy, when properly channeled, can create a cascading disruption in other energy fields. In its natural form, we use it to navigate space currents. Weaponized. It could disable entire planetary defense systems, Talon finished. Render technology useless across vast areas. The perfect first strike capability. The implications were staggering. Maya looked back at the technician, who seemed almost smug despite his predicament. That's why the security was so minimal at the facility, she realized, because the real protection was bureaucratic. Anyone who discovered it would be going up against the entire UEA security apparatus. And now they'll hunt you to the edges of known space, the technician confirmed. Your service record has already been amended to show instability and radicalization. By the time you reach Kara's Minor, you'll be listed as a dangerous terrorist who kidnapped a UEA employee and stole classified technology. Sarah cursed under her breath. We need to change course. Kara's Minor won't be safe. A sudden alarm from the bridge interrupted them. Varric rushed to check it, returning moments later with grim news. Long-range scanners show 3 vessels on intercept course. UEA signatures, heavy cruiser class. How did they find us so quickly? Maya demanded, following him back to the bridge. The answer came from an unexpected source. Talon had dragged himself to the doorway, supported by Alara and Dax. The resonance pattern, he said weakly. My energy signature is unique, like a beacon to those who know how to scan for it. More so because of my connection to you, Maya. Connection? Maya asked, confused. When minds touch across species, it creates a unique energy pattern, Alara explained. It is like nothing else in the galaxy, a bridge between different forms of consciousness. The Zenith scientists would have calibrated their scanners to detect it. We have perhaps 20 minutes before they're in weapons range, Varric announced, his fingers dancing across the navigation controls. Maya's mind raced. 3 UEA cruisers against their small maintenance vessel was no contest. They couldn't outrun them, couldn't outgun them, and now had nowhere to hide. The future she'd imagined, exposing Zenith, freeing the other Luminarians, bringing the responsible parties to justice, seemed to evaporate before her eyes. But then Talon spoke again, his voice stronger than before. There's another option, he said, straightening slightly. I can create a resonance cascade. What? Alara's skin flashed with alarm. Talon, you're too weak. The effort would kill you. Not a full cascade, he clarified. A targeted disruption that would affect only their tracking systems. But I need your help. His gaze fixed on Maya. Both of you. What do you need us to do? Maya asked without hesitation. Alara will channel her remaining energy to me. You, Maya, will serve as the focal point. Our shared mental connection creates a unique pattern that I can manipulate. He paused, his glow dimming momentarily with the effort of speaking. I must warn you, this will be painful, and the connection will deepen beyond what you have experienced before. Maya glanced at the tactical display. 18 minutes to intercept. Do it, she decided. They cleared the bridge of unnecessary equipment, creating a small open space where the 3 of them could sit in a triangle formation. Maya followed Alara's instructions, positioning herself directly across from Talon while Alara completed the triangle. I'll monitor from navigation, Varric said, giving them space. Dax, Sarah, be ready to change course the moment their tracking drops. The others retreated to their stations, leaving Maya facing the 2 Luminarians. Alara reached out, taking one of Maya's hands and one of Talon's. After a moment's hesitation, Talon extended his free hand to Maya, completing the circuit. The moment their hands connected, Maya gasped. Energy coursed through her body, unlike anything she'd experienced in their previous mental contacts. This was raw power, flowing from Alara through her and into Talon, who channeled and shaped it with what remained of his abilities. Images flooded her consciousness. Not just glimpses of the Luminarian world, this time, but entire lifetimes of experience. She saw Talon as a young navigator, learning to sense the energy currents that flow between stars. She experienced Alara's memories of the fall of their homeworld, the desperate flight from Zenith's harvesting ships. And they, in turn, saw her. Her childhood on Earth's North American continent, her training at the Academy, her idealistic belief in humanity's better nature, and the gradual disillusionment as she witnessed the compromises made at civilization's edge. The connection deepened, moving beyond memory into something more fundamental. Maya felt her consciousness expanding, merging partially with theirs, creating something new and unprecedented. a tri-species resonance that existed outside normal energy patterns. Physical pain followed, intense and radiating. Maya's body felt as though it were being pulled apart at a molecular level, reconfigured by the energy flowing through it. She would have screamed if she could control her voice, would have broken the connection if her muscles responded to her commands. Through the agony, she sensed Talon gathering the combined energy, focusing it, reshaping it into a precise pattern. Then, with a final surge of power that nearly caused Maya to black out, he released it outward in a directed pulse. The ship shuddered around them. Consoles flickered, died, then rebooted. Maya collapsed backward, the connection broken, every nerve ending in her body singing with pain and strange aftershocks of energy. Did it work? She managed to gasp out. Varric was bent over the navigation console, which was slowly coming back online. Their formation is breaking, he reported, wonder in his voice. They're still pursuing, but on diverging vectors. They've lost our precise location. Ilara crawled to Talon, who had slumped to the deck, his glow alarmingly dim. Talon? Brother? The male Luminarian's eyes fluttered open, though the light within them was faint. The cascade succeeded, he whispered. But I have little energy left. I'll give you more, Ilara said immediately, placing her hands on his chest. He weakly pushed her away. No, you are already depleted. You must conserve your strength for what comes next. Maya forced herself to her knees, then to her feet, though her body protested every movement. Varric set a new course, furthest possible point from our original destination. Already done, the Kaltorian confirmed. We have perhaps a 6-hour lead before they can recalibrate and coordinate their search. 6 hours, not much time to formulate a new plan, but better than nothing. Maya staggered to the co-pilot's seat, her mind unusually clear despite her physical exhaustion. The connection with the Luminarians had changed something in her perception, allowing her to see patterns and possibilities that might have eluded her before. We need to get this evidence to someone who can't be silenced or bought, she said. Someone with enough public standing that an assassination would raise more questions than it would solve. That's a short list in frontier space, Sarah observed, helping Ilara move Talon to the cargo hold for rest. Not in frontier space, Maya decided. Earth. Specifically, Senator Diane Chen, chair of the Ethics Committee. She's been investigating corruption in frontier development contracts for years. Dax let out a low whistle. Earth is on the other side of Alliance space. We'll never make it in this vessel. We don't need to, Maya replied, the plan forming as she spoke. We need to get to a public communications hub with enough bandwidth to transmit everything we have, including a live feed of Talon's testimony. Somewhere too public for Zenith or the UEA to shut down without creating a spectacle. Varric considered this Regis Furrowing concentration. Station Helios. Commercial hub, minimal UEA presence, maximum civilian traffic. Their central plaza has the most powerful public communications array in this sector. Can we reach it before our lead expires? Maya asked. Just barely, Varric confirmed, but we'll be running on fumes. Then set the course, Maya ordered, wincing as she shifted in her seat. Every movement set new waves of pain through her altered nervous system. And prepare the evidence. We'll only get one shot at this. The journey to Station Helios pushed their small vessel to its limits. Talon drifted in and out of consciousness, his condition stabilizing but not improving. Ilara remained by his side, conserving her own energy while providing just enough to keep him alive. The mental connection had left Maya changed in ways she was still discovering. Her perception of energy fields had heightened. She could sense the power flowing through the ship's systems, could feel the distinct energy signatures of each crew member. Most strangely, she remained partially aware of the Luminarians' emotions and surface thoughts, a faint connection persisting even without physical contact. Approaching Helios, Varric announced that the massive commercial station appeared on their view screen. Unlike the utilitarian design of Nexus, Helios was built to impress, with sweeping architectural elements and elaborate external lighting that made it gleam like its namesake sun against the backdrop of space. Any sign of pursuit? Maya asked, checking the long-range scanners. Nothing definitive, Sarah replied from the communications station, but there's increased UEA chatter about security alerts. They had anticipated this. Maya had already prepared their approach strategy using her UEA credentials, which hadn't yet been officially revoked, to file a routine maintenance inspection request. It wouldn't withstand close scrutiny, but it might get them docked before questions arose. Transmitting docking request now, Varric said, sending the carefully crafted documents. Minutes crawled by as they waited for a response. Finally, the comm system crackled to life. Maintenance Vessel 104873, your request is approved. Proceed to Utility Dock 7B for inspection and resupply. Collective exhales of relief filled the bridge. Utility Dock 7B was perfectly positioned, close to both a main concourse and emergency escape routes if things went wrong. Remember the plan, Maya said as Varric guided them toward the assigned berth. Dax and I will escort Talon to the central plaza. Sarah will handle the transmission setup. Varric and Elara remain with the ship, ready for emergency departure. The Zenith technician, who had been kept sedated for most of the journey, would be left restrained on the vessel, a precaution that troubled Maya's conscience but was necessary given the stakes. They docked without incident, the mechanical clamps securing the vessel to station Helios with a reassuring thunk. Talon had been dressed in a hooded cloak similar to the one Elara wore, obscuring his distinctive features. He was weak but determined, insisting on walking under his own power despite Elara's concerns. Station security will be tracking us the moment we disembark, Dax warned, checking his pulse rifle one final time before concealing it beneath his jacket. We'll have 30 minutes at most before someone realizes who we are. Then we make those 30 minutes count, Maya replied, adjusting her own jacket to hide her service pistol. The airlock cycled open, and they stepped onto Station Helios. The utility corridor was deserted except for a few maintenance drones, but Maya could sense surveillance systems tracking their movement. The heightened perception gifted by her Luminarian connection was both blessing and burden. She felt exposed as though walking through the station naked. They moved swiftly, Maya leading the way with her authoritative UEA stride that discouraged questions. Talon kept pace beside her, Dax following slightly behind, scanning constantly for threats. When they reached the main concourse, the sudden press of people was both comforting camouflage and new danger. Helios bustled with activity, merchants hawking exotic wares, tourists gawking at the elaborate architecture, business travelers hurrying between meetings. Aliens of dozens of species mingled with humans, creating a tapestry of diversity that would have delighted Maya under different circumstances. Central Plaza is 2 levels up, she murmured to Talon, guiding him toward a public lift. How are you holding up? Functioning, came the terse reply, though she could feel his fatigue through their lingering connection. The energy patterns here are chaotic, distracting. The lift carried them upward, depositing them in the magnificent Central Plaza, Helios Station's crown jewel and primary attraction. The vast dome space opened above them, transparent panels revealing the starfield beyond. At the center stood the communications spire, a gleaming tower that housed the most powerful civilian transmission equipment in the sector. Sarah was already there, having taken a separate route. She caught Maya's eye from her position near the public access terminals, giving a subtle nod to indicate all was ready. They were halfway to the terminal when Maya felt it, a shift in the energy patterns around them, a new tension in the air. She glanced back to see 4 figures in civilian clothes entering the plaza, moving with the unmistakable purpose of trained security personnel. We've been made, she whispered to Dax. 4 operators at the south entrance, probably more incoming. Dax didn't question how she knew. Speed over stealth now, he decided. Let's move. They quickened their pace, no longer trying to blend in. The central plaza was crowded enough that outright confrontation would be difficult for their pursuers, but that advantage wouldn't last long. Sarah met them at the terminal, hands already flying over the interface. I'd established a direct channel to Senator Chen's office and bypassed the standard screening protocols. We got about 3 minutes before station security overrides it. Maya nodded, helping Talon into position before the terminal's camera. She removed his hood, revealing his distinctive features and the damaged crystalline structures that told the story of his captivity without words. Transmitting now, Sarah announced. The screen flickered, then resolved to show a stern-faced woman in her 60s, Senator Diane Chen herself, expression shifting from annoyance to shock as she registered Talon's alien countenance. Senator Chen, Maya began without preamble, I'm Technical Specialist Maya Reeves, UEA Frontier Division. What you're seeing is a Luminarian, a member of a sentient species being exploited as living power sources by Zenith Energy with the knowledge and cooperation of high-level UEA officials, including Director Elliot Hargrove. The senator's eyes narrowed, professional caution warring with evident outrage. These are extraordinary claims, Specialist Reeves. I assume you have evidence. Transmitting now, Sarah confirmed, sending the comprehensive data package they prepared, facility schematics, power consumption records, the testimony of the Zenith technician, medical scans of Talon's injuries, and everything else they gathered. My name is Talon, the Luminarian said, his melodic voice carrying despite its weakness. I was captured 7 of your years ago and used as what your people call a battery. My energy was harvested continuously, causing pain you cannot imagine, to power your expansion and develop weapons that violate all principles of peace. As he spoke, Maya noticed security personnel closing in from multiple entrances. The plaza's civilian occupants were beginning to sense something amiss, creating space around the confrontation that was about to unfold. You must act quickly, Senator, Maya urged. This transmission will be cut off at any moment. Dozens more Luminarians remain captive. Their locations are in the data we've sent. I have received your files, Chen confirmed, her expression hardening with resolve. They will be secured immediately and reviewed by my personal staff, if what you're showing me is accurate. It's a trick, Senator, interrupted a new voice as a distinguished-looking man in a UEA uniform stepped into frame beside Chen. Maya Reeves is wanted for theft of classified technology and aiding alien infiltrators. That creature with her is not what it appears. Maya's blood ran cold as she recognized Director Hargrove himself. The pursuit had been more coordinated than they'd anticipated, not just tracking them to Helios, but anticipating their communication strategy. Director Hargrove, she acknowledged, fighting to keep her voice steady, right on time to witness your crimes being exposed. There's no crime protecting humanity's interests, Hargrove replied smoothly. The Energy Integration Project is classified for security reasons but fully sanctioned and ethically conducted. These aliens volunteer for energy sharing in exchange for protection. Talon surged forward, his weakened body nonetheless crackling with sudden energy. Liar, he thundered, his voice resonating with power that made the terminal speakers distort. You destroyed our world, hunted us across the stars, drained us until nothing remained but pain. The raw emotion in his voice seemed to penetrate even through the clinical distance of the transmission. Senator Chen's eyes widened, her gaze moving from Talon to Hargrove with new suspicion. If these beings are volunteers, Director, she asked carefully, why does this one speak of pain and hunting? Before Hargrove could respond, security forces converged on the terminal. Dax moved to intercept them, drawing his concealed weapon. Maya, finish this. We'll hold them off. Chaos erupted in the central plaza as civilians scattered, security personnel advanced, and Dax created a defensive perimeter with Sarah's help. Maya stood her ground at the terminal, one hand on Talon's shoulder to steady him. The evidence speaks for itself, Senator, she said urgently. Review it, verify it, and act. Lives depend on your courage. Chen nodded solemnly. I will see justice done, Specialist Reeves. You have my word. The transmission cut abruptly as a security override finally took effect. Maya turned to find herself surrounded, a dozen armed officers in station security uniforms forming a circle around the terminal. Behind them, she could see Dax and Sarah already restrained. Maya Reeves announced, a stern-faced security captain, you are under arrest for unauthorized access, transmission of classified materials, and seditious activities against the United Earth Alliance. Maya stood tall, keeping her hand on Talon's shoulder. Through their connection, she felt not despair, but a strange serenity from the Luminarian. It is enough, came his thought to her mind. The truth is released. It cannot be contained again. As security officers moved to separate them, Maya felt Talon gathering the last reserves of his energy. Before she could question his intention, he channeled it outward, not as a weapon, but as a broadcast, a pure telepathic transmission that washed over everyone in the central plaza. For one breathtaking moment, every person present, human and alien alike, experienced a fragment of Talon's captivity. They felt the pain of energy extraction, the despair of endless imprisonment, the violation of being used as a tool rather than recognized as a person. When the moment passed, there was absolute silence in the plaza. Security officers stood frozen, weapons lowered, faces slack with shock. Civilians who had been fleeing now turned back, their expressions transforming from fear to outrage as they processed what they had felt. Arrest me if you must, Maya said into the silence, her voice carrying across the stunned plaza. But know what you're defending. It's not security. It's not progress. It's slavery and torture wearing the mask of necessity. The security captain's hand trembled slightly as he lowered his weapon. Stand down, he ordered his team, voice rough with emotion. No arrests until we receive clarification from Central Command. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a beginning, a moment of truth that couldn't be undone. As Maya helped the now unconscious Talon to a nearby bench, she felt the first stirrings of hope since their desperate flight began. Within hours, Senator Chen's office released portions of the evidence to selected media outlets, accompanied by her formal call for an independent investigation into Zenith Energy and UEA frontier operations. By the time Maya and her allies were transferred to a proper detention facility, the story had spread across the Alliance network. Luminarian imprisonment, energy harvesting, the weapons program, all of it exposed to the harsh light of public scrutiny. 3 weeks later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the senator's private vessel, watching as the stars streaked by. Her official status remained complicated, technically in custody, but treated more as a protected witness as Chen's investigation gathered momentum. Beside her stood Talon, his condition gradually improving under proper care. The crystalline structures along his spine had begun to regenerate, and his energy signature grew stronger each day. On his other side, Ilara maintained her vigilant watch, though her role had shifted from healer to cultural ambassador, as more officials sought to understand the Luminarian perspective. The 7th facility was liberated yesterday, Senator Chen announced, joining them at the viewport. 35 of your people freed Talon, and we have solid leads on the remaining 3 locations. Talon inclined his head in a gesture of profound gratitude. My people will remember your justice, Senator. When the last of us is free, we will help rebuild what was broken between our kinds. And Hargrove, Maya asked, the question that had concerned her most. In custody, along with 14 other officials and Zenith executives. The evidence is overwhelming, especially after the Keltorian ambassador confirmed similar exploitation of their people. Chen's expression was grim but satisfied. The Alliance Council has voted to establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It won't undo the harm, but it's a start. Maya nodded, her gaze returning to the stars. The connection she shared with Talon and Alara had neither faded nor diminished in the weeks since their escape. If anything, it had deepened, evolving into something unprecedented in human-alien relations, a bridge between fundamentally different forms of consciousness. UBA scientists were eager to study it, of course, though under strictly ethical guidelines this time. What had begun as exploitation might yet transform into true cooperation if the wounds could be healed and trust rebuilt. What happens when we reach Earth? Maya asked, her future still uncertain despite Chen's protection. You'll be officially recognized as a whistleblower acting in accordance with the highest principles of the Alliance, Chen replied. After that, I'd like to offer you a position on my staff. We need people with your moral clarity and technical expertise to reform frontier operations. It was a generous offer, a chance to continue the work of justice from inside the system. Yet Maya hesitated, looking at her Luminarian companions. I sense your thoughts, Talon said softly. You wonder if another path calls to you. Maya smiled, no longer surprised by how well he understood her. The connection we share, it's unique, possibly the first of its kind. There's so much we could learn, so many barriers between our species that could be bridged. You're considering going with them, Chen realized, to the Luminarian colony. As an ambassador, perhaps, Maya acknowledged, or whatever role would help prevent such atrocities from happening again. Chen nodded thoughtfully. The Alliance needs representatives who truly understand non-human perspectives, someone who's experienced a different consciousness firsthand. She turned to include Talon and Alara in her gaze, and the Luminarians might benefit from having a human advocate who shares their connection to energy. The path reveals itself, Alara said, her skin brightening with approval. A bridge between worlds. Maya felt the resonance of their shared energy, human determination and ingenuity flowing together with Luminarian perception and wisdom. What had begun in the darkness of exploitation might yet lead to light, to understanding beyond what either species could achieve alone. Beyond the viewport, stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the tiny beings that traveled between them. But for those beings, human and alien alike, a new constellation was forming, a pattern of connection that might just reshape the galaxy. And Maya Reeves, once a simple technical specialist who had only wanted to solve the power fluctuation, found herself at the center of it all, changed, challenged, but filled with purpose for the journey ahead.